Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe.
What was that?
It's unbelievable to me because my phone is plugged in on the other side of the room. It's been absolutely silent all morning long. Oh, not a sound. Nobody messages me, nothing. Okay. Soon as it go on the air, the minute I start this show. The same thing happens when I'm taping stuff. If I'm taping Weather in 5, and sometimes I'll forget sometimes to turn the notifications off. The minute I start, they'll come one after another after another. It doesn't stop. All right. Anyway, that's the conspiracy world that I live in. Joe Rayo is on my left. I am Joe Chaffee, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is live from Marietta, Georgia today, and brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Do not forget, folks, that Tuesday, October the 5th, there is an open house free event for contractors and those of you who are in this business of decorating other people's homes, or maybe you want to make that part of your own business. The open house is on Tuesday, October the 5th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that's at 164 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. And anybody from anywhere can come to this. And the telephone number is 631-957-5106 to RSVP, or you can go to the website liholidaylighting.com. And the garland is in, the wreaths are in, the Halloween stuff is there, everything as far as Christmas or the holidays, all ready to go. And I think what we're down to, like 85 days before Santa comes calling. So Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini. Also brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. Remember, folks, salt is going to be at a premium. There is a shortage. And they got it. So get your orders in, Pelleto, Mag Ice Pellets and Flakes, and just about anything you need to get you through this coming winter. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So we'll say goodbye to that. Let's bring us back in. Everybody's commenting about the clock. Yes, it's already on its. I pointed out to Joe, it's on standard time already, because this is not doesn't work on daylight saving time. It only works on standard time, so it stays on standard time all year round. That is a fact. So,
all right. Well, it's a lovely looking clock, and it's certainly, we just have to remember to mentally, when we see you in front of the clock, to just add 1 hour. And as I pointed out to you, Joe, we still have 5 more weeks of daylight time. This year is one of those years where daylight time will last its absolute longest. We will not go back on standard time until Sunday, the 7th of November. So we're going to be stuck with this nonsense all the way through the first week of November. And that last day before we change over to standard time, the sun will be coming up as late in the year as it will during the middle part of winter time. So it's crazy. So those of you who are well to the west, if you're on the flanking western side of a time zone, you will find that the sun will be coming up at a crazy hour, like 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30, not, and it's all due again to the fact that we do this stupidity every year of pushing the clocks forward in March.
I'm in one of those places. I mean, I already have my my sunrise right now is at after 7:30. I mean, wow. It's still dark. I mean, it's still pitch black up until about 7 o'clock, 7:15 before the sun gets. I know the mountains are, delay me actually seeing rays of sun. But yeah, you're right. In another 30 days, my sunrise is going to be at like 8:15 until they move the clock back an hour. But on the other hand, my sunsets are a little bit later, so the sun's out till 5:30 or so. Even on the short, you get to those short days in December, it doesn't really set till after 5:30, which isn't too bad.
Yeah. Okay.
But
So we've got two tropical systems, one hanging on by a thread for tropical identity, and the other one that has been very robust and very spirited, so to speak, for the last week or 10 days, now winding down as it gets its toes into the colder waters of the North Atlantic. And from the track that I saw last night, Joe, they've got this thing flying up toward Greenland and Iceland.
yeah, it is amazing because we haven't been on since Wednesday. So Sam actually got back almost to a Cat 5 while it was making its closest pass to Bermuda. It was never going to get. Once it became apparent on what was going on, it was never going to really get near Bermuda. I know they put up a tropical storm watch up over there. I don't know if they ever actually went to a warning. I doubt that they did because it looked like it passed a good couple of 100 miles to the east. But yeah, this thing's been around forever. I think it's at the point now it'll become some sort of post-tropical cyclone, and who knows, what it'll do with respect to, altering the longer range pattern. Maybe it'll have a hand in moving some chess pieces around over in Europe and in Asia, and then eventually, that'll just sort of play its way down across North America. I didn't really give a good solid look to the long range, so maybe I'm wrong here, but sometimes these things do have a way of triggering changes wholesale for across the northern hemisphere.
Well, it certainly has a, toward its end, it has like a weird looking track. I mean, it's by the as we get into early Tuesday, it's taking the classic, northeast turn, curving, and then all of a sudden, as it transitions to a tropical system or an extratropical storm system, it kind of goes sharply to the east and then goes up to the north, and then it curves to the west.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
Here's the track. I'll bring up the Hurricane Center's forecast. It is a bit bizarre, but yeah, it probably has to do with the fact that it either merges or becomes a sort of extratropical cyclone, and you have to wait for the the upper low. Sometimes up there you get these storms that drop southwestward before they, southwest of Greenland, and then they take off to the east northeast and race toward Iceland and Western Europe, northwestern Europe, and the UK. So yeah, they do bizarre things up there.
Well, the people in Iceland, they're bizarre in their own right, or whatever. Don't ask me why, but I've dealt with people from Iceland, and they can be a little strange sometimes. Let's put it that way. Beautiful country, but I guess you have to be weird to live up there.
Strange in a good, in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, I guess you could say. I mean, they say the same things, by the way, about people who live in Newfoundland. In fact, they make what they call Newfie jokes in the rest of Canada.
Oh, did you hear about the Newfie who went to,
yeah,
something like those kind of jokes?
Well, what are you doing? The executive producer just gave me a quick comb out.
Oh, okay.
It's not working.
You're off screen anyway.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm off screen, so you can do whatever you want to do.
She could do anything she wants. She could put your makeup on, too, if she'd like. Yeah.
All right. So anyway.
Are you all, to quote Thelma Ritter, are you all put together?
Yes, I think I am. Yes.
Yeah, I pulled up the GFS, which has Sam well southeast of Newfoundland, and then you're right. It does this cyclonic loop well to the southeast of Greenland. It's like a 960-ish low, and then it starts to go east northeast to northeast. Does another cyclonic loop between Iceland and Greenland. And then after that, it finally takes off because there's another new low that forms a non-tropical low that forms southeast of Newfoundland and then goes around and does the same sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty weird looking out there.
And now we're down to we've got the V storm Victor out there clinging
to. That's done. I mean, that's going to be done soon. It's a sheer depression. That's going away.
And then we have Wanda, but I don't think that the one other disturbance that they're looking at doesn't have a very high probability in the immediate future of developing. But it looks like we're about to run out of names again, Joe.
Yeah, we only got one left. I mean,
yeah.
I think the area to watch in the first 10 days of October, because we've already gone now in the third day, but let's say over the next 10 days is probably watch the area from the Northwest Caribbean to the Eastern Gulf to the Bahamas, because that's the area with the upper pattern, the way it's setting up in the eastern part of the United States. I think that's the one area that where you're going to see lower than normal pressures. And the models have been kind of more the GFS than anything else. The other models haven't really shown too much of this, but the GFS in particular has been showing something trying to develop down there on various runs. It's still trying to do it. You know, we have this onshore flow in the eastern part of the United States setting up this week. So that's probably the one place I would watch a little more carefully. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And things are winding down now. I mean, like as we know, the time for the greatest threat, let's say, for tropical activity comes from the 10th of August to the 10th of October, and we're moving quickly toward the latter part of that time frame now. However, let's point out that Sandy, for example, didn't come until like the 28th, the 29th of October.
Right.
So we still, even that late in the season, can have some problems, all dependent upon just how tempestuous the upper atmosphere may be in the tropical regions as we move on through this month of October.
Yeah, you usually see about 90 storms that impact the eastern United States, but particularly the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. The vast majority of them probably occur between August 1st and October 1st. And once you get beyond October 1st, it's probably most years it's a pretty safe bet that the Northeast is done, because unless you have some sort of non-tropical influence with a deep trough and an upper low coming down to sort of take any tropical system that's out there, plus it's got to line up, as usual, it's got to line up almost perfectly. Like you said, you had a Sandy at the end of October, but that's more the exception than the rule. The other thing is, Joey, go easily wipe out the last name just from the standpoint you get into October and November. This is usually the next, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks is a time frame where you could get these lows that are out in the middle of the Atlantic that start out as these non-tropical systems and then eventually evolve into tropical systems because the ocean is still pretty warm. So you could easily get 2 or 3 named storms to form out, fish storms to form out in the central Atlantic in the next 6 weeks and get us onto that secondary list for the second year in a row, by the way.
Pretty amazing. Last year we did it, but then the year previous to that was 2005. So you say, well, this is something that only happens, every once in a great while, every, on average, every 10 or 15 years. But to do it back to back, that it'll be interesting now to see what happens next year and see if we run through the list quickly as we've done this year and the year before. Then truly, we may be into a rather special stage of tropical annual tropical development.
Right. And meanwhile, as is typical in early October, take a look at the watches and warnings map of the Weather Service across the U.S. Now, I don't particularly count dense fog advisories, okay? I know some people get excited over dense fog advisories, but they're not my thing. So I really don't regard that as, anything major, unless, that's a very local sort of thing. But in terms of all the other stuff like flash flood warnings, flash flood watches, severe weather watches and warnings, winter storm watches and warnings, and so on, There ain't a thing going on, Joe, from Maine to Florida, clear west to California, Oregon, and Washington State. Nothing.
Wow. Amazing. So we don't have much to talk about, do we? Except that this week looks like we will have, because of minor, and I will stress this, minor weather disturbances. There will be some bouts of rain, although nothing, horrendously heavy here during the next several days. But that's to be expected. Although, as I mentioned before, we moved into this month of October. Climatologically speaking, October is the clearest month of the year in this part of the country, and certainly, Joe, you can't argue with the first 3 days of October. These days have been sterling, resplendent, beautiful, and also rather coolish in the early morning hours as well.
By the way, we have winter weather advisories up in Alaska, including Fairbanks. We have winter storm warnings for the areas east of Fairbanks, and I'm trying to maneuver. The Weather Service Fairbanks forecast office page is a little different from some of the other pages, so it's a little harder to find things. They got this gigantic map, rather than, and you can't really click on anything in here. So I'm just trying. Let's see, I could try that one. Let's see, trying to see, because I always like to read their forecasts. So at Delta Junction, which is near Fort Greely Allen Army Airfield, ticker symbol PABI. Light snow 2.5 miles and 29 there. And they have a winter storm warning. Now, for this particular spot, you read these forecasts, I always get a kick out of it. Snow likely before 1 p.m., high near 31, chance of precip 70%, total snow accumulation less than 1 inch. And then a 40% chance of snow tonight, then mostly cloudy with a low of 19. So, yet they have a winter storm warning out, and I'm trying to find, let's see what the link says. So this is for the upper Tanana Valley and the 40-mile country. Have you been to the 40-mile country, Joe?
No.
Okay.
I've been to Alaska, but I've not been to the 40-mile country, no.
Okay. This includes, by the way, Tok, Tanacross, Eagle, Tetlin, Northway, Alcan, as in Alcan aluminium, Chicken, Alaska, and Boundary, Alaska. So they're forecasting, let's see, 1 to 3 inches. Locally gusty winds along the Alaska Highway will cause blowing and drifting. So that for them is a winter storm warning. So
you say that includes Tok? It doesn't include Tick.
No, right. Tick is not in it. Tok is, right. Tanacross, Eagle, but not Hawk.
Yes.
Tetlin, Northway, Alcan, Chicken, and Boundary. Exactly. Meanwhile, here in the Northeast, if you go up into north of you, Mr. Rayo, but you have to go still a fair distance, probably up closer to the I-90 corridor. There's a lot of clouds and showers, and those extend up into northern New England. But south of there and right down along the coastal plain, clear down to southeast Georgia and Florida, it is really another one of these nice days. But you go along the spine of the Appalachians and head up northward and westward, and then turning up into upstate New York, you have clouds and showers. That awaits us. Awaits the east for Monday, but squeezing out one more day from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, with temperatures probably reaching up into the low 80s in some places this afternoon.
Yes. And this will be probably one of the last days for a little while, because it does turn cooler as we move on through much of next week. But these days that flirt with 80, they're going to be fewer and much further between as we progress through the coming weeks. Of course, you would expect that, since we're now more than a couple of weeks into the fall season, the official astronomically. Meteorologically, we're into fall now for more than a month.
Yep. Here's the disturbed weather you mentioned, sitting over the east of the Bahamas, and north of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, extending down into the Caribbean. Very disorganized, obviously, but that's what the Hurricane Center is watching over the next 5 days. That's the one system that they did mention in their outlook. Meanwhile, you look out in the west, it is bone dry and sunny and nice, and nothing as far as extreme weather is concerned going on over there. On the radar, and I'll give this a quick refresh here so we get the full U.S. view. And it's all east of the Mississippi, whatever precip there is. You have these showers, again, right along the I-90 corridor across New York State, and then into southern Vermont, New Hampshire, and southern Maine. Also seeing some showers extending back down toward I-81 near Binghamton and south of Syracuse, going down into north central PA. A couple of showers even sneaking into northern Connecticut now, but everybody else is dry. See, it's all bone dry down to the south. I am the showers because I'm in beautiful downtown Marietta, Georgia, right today. But there are some heavier downpours well north and west of me. So if you take I-75 up north toward Knoxville, that's where you start to get into these showers that you see there in northwest Georgia and moving up into eastern Tennessee. Meanwhile, on the Florida Panhandle, we've got some showers and storms and a couple of special marine warnings up between Panama City and Pensacola. And further to the west, it starts to precip all generally cuts off west of the Mississippi. A little bit of action there across the Great Lakes. So as all this shifts eastward tomorrow, the way I worded it, Joe, I just kind of went for like some on and off, sort of these some on and off scattered clusters of showers later tonight and Monday. Some areas in between that will either be sitting in clouds. I wouldn't even be surprised if you go, some places go cloudy to partly sunny for a couple of hours, depending on where you are. This does not look like it's going to be, it's not very organized. I don't think this is going to be one of these wholesale widespread rainfall events when it gets in here for overnight and tomorrow.
So, I mean, so you're not looking for, in your mind, because back when we parted company on Wednesday, I was looking ahead to Monday, Tuesday, and I said, well, the total amount of precip over those couple of days could possibly reach upwards to maybe a half to 1 inch.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
but we're not talking about anything like Ida or
oh no, clearly not
something atrocious, atrocious like that. Yeah.
No. I just don't think it's going to be one of these situations where it starts raining, say after midnight tonight, and then it rains straight through all day tomorrow into tomorrow night. It's gonna vary. Some places yes, some places no, some places somewhere in between. I don't see this as a widespread, washout type of day, at least from what I'm looking at.
Right. Well, that's good. That's good. We're still in the process here at the Rayo household of draining the pool. So we'd like to have a little bit of dry weather while we're draining. Drain the bathtub, I'm drowning. But no, that's what we're in the midst of doing here. That's our project as we go through the process of taking down the semi-obnoxious. I know when you lived on Long Island, you referred to your pool as the obnoxiously large swimming pool.
Right.
We only have a semi-obnoxiously large swimming pool. So
I loved my obnoxiously large swimming pool. You could do laps in it. It got its use. I got good use out of it.
Well, we got good use out of ours. I mean, just to make a short story long or a long story short, we always had in one corner of the pool. I don't know how many of you have pools at your home, and this is a kayak type pool, and there are panels rimming all the way around the periphery of the pool. One panel a few years ago got warped, and slowly but surely, with the passage of time, it became more and more warped to the point where now you can actually see the pool, the inside of the pool cover, not the pool cover, the pool liner jutting out or kind of sticking out. Obviously, that was something that needed to be taken care of. But Joe, the problem is with a pool like this, in order to fix it, you have to first drain the pool.
Yeah.
Then you have to take off the cover.
Yeah.
In order to fix the panel. That's a lot of money. So Renata and I, we looked at each other and said, it's time.
Right.
So we're gonna just take the whole darn thing down and just say the hell with it.
You didn't need a CO for the pool, did you?
No, in fact, I went down to the local town hall, and believe it or not, and I found this amazing. The person behind the desk said, "If you take it down, you don't need a permit for that. You don't have to worry about anything like that." I said, "Oh, well, thank you."
Yeah, because some towns that shall go unmentioned. Not that I live in such a town anymore. You needed a permit to put the pool in. You get the CO. And then if you took the pool down, if you took your pool out, you'd have to get another permit to take the pool out.
But that doesn't make any sense. Why would you need a CO? I mean, certainly you don't occupy the pool.
Well,
you occupy the pool perpetually or whatever?
Well, in the People's Republic of the town of Brookhaven on Long Island, I mean, you needed a CO to put up a mailbox.
I know that.
You bought your kid.
I know that.
If you bought your daughter a doll's house, they'd come over and try to tax it. So, yeah. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I lived
in the People's Republic of Levittown.
Right.
And in the People's Republic of Levittown, we put a side door in our garage.
Oh.
And
the horrors.
I don't need to tell you, the headaches that invoked or whatever. So, but no, we will not have a problem in dismantling and getting rid of our semi-obnoxiously large pool, and we're doing it now. Obviously, it doesn't work if you try to do it in December or January.
I know someone who put up a shed and didn't. Now, certain sheds you don't need a CO for, but this one you needed a CO for. So he put up a shed and didn't get a CO for it. Now he's taking the shed down. Okay, so they made him pay, and we're not talking small amounts of money here.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But he had to pay to get a permit to take down a shed that he did not have a CO for.
Ouch.
And you know what really is, now that we're on the subject, what really is drove me crazy with this stuff was that you could talk to 3 different people in the town. You could talk to 3 different people in the town and get 3 different answers. So you're forced to hire an expediter, because I had some minor things that had to be taken care of, and I just was not going to deal with them. So the one thing I do recommend highly is the day that you have the town inspector coming to check out whatever it is you're doing, get a pork shoulder and have it cooking in the oven. If you, either right? No, I'm serious. Either that, or get about a pound of bacon and have that cooking in the oven. Flood your entire house with the smell of cooking pork, and they could come in they could come in with the worst mood and the worst attitude that you could imagine, and within a couple of minutes of breathing that in, they will be eating out of your hand. They'll sign off on it. They'll sign off on anything. So that's a secret of mine. I share that with all. All right, let's get this weather stuff wound up for today, because it really is on the quiet side. One of the things I did notice, Joe, on the teleconnections, we got 2 kind of opposing, what I would describe as sort of opposing teleconnections working. The NAO is actually right now is in a strongly negative position, and it's forecast to stay that way for a few more days, and then it stays negative, although it comes up, let's call it less negative, but it does stay negative through the entire first half of the month of October. And on the other side of that is you have the Pacific North America Index, which is actually also negative. It's at a neutral position today, and is now going negative and kind of, stays negative for the next 2 weeks. So you've got one teleconnection that favors ridging in the east and troughing in the west, and the ridging in the east is kind of getting offset by that negative NAO because that's building pressures up in the North Atlantic. So it keeps us from getting, I would say it keeps us from getting too much above normal. We'll have above normal temperatures for the most part over the next 10 days or so, maybe a little bit longer, but we're not looking at, what I don't think we're looking at any kind of setup here that screams temperatures in the 80s day after day after day. If anything, the NAO is going to try to keep the flow as onshore as possible for much of the time.
Correct. Correct. And, as far as precipitation is concerned, it seems like we're still in kind of it's a pattern right now with that stalled weather front in our vicinity. It seems to be in a pattern where we're going to be dealing with above normal precipitation or near to above normal precip chances for the next week or so. But then it looks like, Joe, there's going to be a ridge in the upper atmosphere during the mid and latter part of the month that's going to literally build forcefully from southern Canada and through the Great Lakes and on into the northeastern United States. And I think that by mid and late month, we may be looking at not only above normal temperatures, but also drier than normal conditions. So we're in a little bit of a setback now with, again, a little showery and maybe near or slightly coolish conditions. But I think once we get to mid and late October, and the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, seems to be echoing this, we may be looking at a nice spell of dry and rather mild weather for the latter part of the month.
Right. In fact, I just actually brought up the GFS 2-week snowfall forecast map for North America. And if anything tells you what the if you just had one map to look at, and we're asked to describe what does the upper air look like, well, guess what? Trough in the west, ridge in the east, and the snow cover, the snowfall forecast reflects that completely because there's no snow in being forecast to fall in much of eastern Canada and plenty of it in western Canada. And then and there's nothing, I wouldn't, really derive anything of importance in terms of the long range out of this. This is a pretty normal occurrence where you wind up seeing snow cover building up first in western Canada and up in Alaska and even down in the northwestern part of the U.S. before it starts to build up in the eastern part of the U.S. That happens most years.
And Bill Rogers on the chat board is asking me any early call for Columbus Day. And actually, just realizing now that I believe next weekend is the holiday weekend, Columbus Day holiday weekend. Is that correct? Or
I believe so.
See, that when you say Columbus Day, to me, I'm old-fashioned. I think of October 12th because not only is that the traditional Columbus Day, but it's also my mom's birthday. Right. So I always used to ask my mother when I was a little boy, I said, how come everybody takes the day off on your birthday? And she said, because I'm so important.
Right. Well, this year, next Monday is the holiday is October the 11th, so it's only off by a day. But right. I also always remember the 12th as being Columbus Day.
Yes. Yes.
That was always I wouldn't say it was a big deal in my house, but it was kind of recognized as, Italian Day or something.
Right.
Along those lines. Meanwhile, by the way, I also just pulled up because I know somebody's going to ask about this because we are now going to be starting to pay attention to this month the indicator that used to work until everybody started paying attention to it and hasn't worked since, the Siberian snow cover growth for the month of October, and it actually looks pretty robust. It has been a robust even before the month began. Kind of started early, and it's looks pretty robust over the next 10 days to 2 weeks. So this takes us to October 19th. The area to watch is, by the way, is the Western flank over in Eastern Europe and Western Russia, Western Siberia as being more important. According to the theory that ample snow cover growth there is a sign of cooler or a colder, snowier winter, particularly in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. like I said, Joe, it was an indicator that was working for quite well until everybody started looking at it, and then it stopped working. So,
Yeah.
which is usually how things, that's usually how things happen. Everybody figures something out, and then suddenly nature says, "Okay, well, we're not going to do it. We're not going to look at that anymore." And by the way, just looking at the upper air, we do see, Joe, primarily again, the negative NAO is trying to hold the heights down to some degree, but in general, you've got deep troughing in the west, and you've got ridging in the east, and that carries us on through the next couple of weeks. But eventually it'll break down. So, but at least through the next 2 weeks, there's not going to be a whole lot of change, and probably not a whole lot going on, unless something tropical comes up or sets up in an odd way.
I was just going to say, in case something, out of the blue, we say right now, oh, nothing's going to happen for the next week or two, and all of a sudden, the renegade tropical system, maybe south of Puerto Rico, suddenly pops up out of nowhere, and because of the setup of a ridge over the eastern United States or whatever, the thing may slowly crawl northward, and all of a sudden, the whole long range is like thrown in the garbage. These things tend to happen more often than not, especially in my early days as a forecaster. I would make the pronouncement on a radio station, well, we have nothing to worry about for the next week or so, and like literally the words weren't out of my mouth, but all of a sudden, like the next day, the National Hurricane Center said disturbance forming off of the southeast coastline
Right.
of the United States, and
Yeah,
boom.
it's really rare to go 2 weeks without seeing anything. So even taking the tropics out of the equation, and the one thing this week, Joe, just looking at this high that builds in eastern Canada has the flow mostly onshore. I don't. Sometimes when you get into these situations, it could certainly be a gloom and doom scenario where it's cloudy for days at a time. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think it's going to be picture perfect. I think there's going to be enough of an onshore flow, especially given the time of year now with the very low, the lowering sun angle. You get these long nights where you get low clouds and some fog or drizzle that comes in. It's the sun's gonna it's gonna take a lot of work for those low clouds to burn off, and I think that's the kind of week that it'll be. The further inland you are, you probably have better luck. You can see the GFS has these sort of you get the shower activity for overnight and into Monday, of course, and then early Tuesday starts to pull away as the high begins to slowly build down. But there's still you got that ocean flow and that's still going to be hanging around there for the rest of the week.
Incidentally, you mentioned just now the sun angle, and what I'd like to do. What happened to that all of a sudden? I have a program, Joe, and I use this for when I write about um, astronomy, various places. Talking about where the sun is, where the planets, and where the moon is. So what I'd like to do, you have share screen disabled, but if you want to give it to me.
And one moment, it's all yours. You have the board.
Okay.
Oh, hold on, just a second. Let me fix something here. Shoot. Do me a favor, just unshare for a minute. Unshare for a minute. I'm on one monitor, so I'm trying to make sure that everybody's not seeing that. So hang on one second. Let me set it up correct. Okay, so let's go to Zoom. All right, why did it do that? I didn't want that to happen. Right, let me put that behind you. I'm sorry, folks. It's trying to stay one step ahead of technology. Okay, now try and share it.
Okay, I want to just hit option here for a moment. Viewing location, view from home, Putnam Valley. All right. This is a very interesting computer program that I have here. It's called Starry Night, and it can demonstrate. It's like having your own planetarium on your computer screen. Now let me just see if I can I move this? Now are you seeing this right
Yes,
now?
everybody's seeing it. There's like
All right.
what looks like mountains in the background.
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to. Oh, I see. I know why. Bum, bum, bum. So there you go. Let's move this to 1 o'clock or midday. I want to get the sun due south. So there you go, almost due south. This is for August the 23rd at midday from Putnam Valley, New York. There you see the mountains of the horizon. Here's the sun up here. Now, we often talk about the sun angle, the changing sun angle. I want to show you quickly what this looks like. Let's speed up time now and show you what happens. This is the midday sun now, August 23rd. Let's go to August 24th, 25th. Now we're going to speed things up, Joe. Look at where the sun is going at midday each day. Now here we are. This is the first day of fall, September 22nd, and you can see it's noticeably different than it was just a month ago. It was up here on August 22nd at midday, and now it's down here on September 22nd. And now, as we continue to keep moving with this is October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Let's keep on moving. And the ancient people, when they used to watch, oh, what was that? Oh, that's going to be totally wrong. That thing you see protruding out from the sun is the tail of a comet. Sometimes this program tries to interpret comets approaching near the sun and overdoes them, so to speak. If this were right, we would be seeing a naked eye comet next to the sun on October 19th. That is not going to happen. But anyway, the ancient people who used to watch the sky 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, they were very concerned around this time of the year because they noticed that the sun was dropping and getting lower and lower in the sky with each passing day. We don't notice this in our modern world. We don't take note of what's happening in the sky. But the people who lived hundreds and thousands of years ago became very concerned. They thought that they had no idea what machinery was causing the sun to do this. And they were afraid that maybe the sun would continue its southward journey below the horizon, never to return and plunge us into eternal and perpetual darkness. Here we are now. It's December the 6th. Look at the difference in the southern sun or the midday sun here as compared to where it was back in August when it was considerably warmer and the days were considerably longer. Now, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we get all the way to the 21st of December, the December solstice. Solstice means sun standing still. The people who lived many, many years ago noticed that right around the 21st and 22nd of December, the sun would stop. The sun would, you've heard of the word armistice. That means a ceasing of hostilities. Solstice means the ceasing of that southerly movement of the sun. And now, after December 22nd, the sun will begin to resume its course back to the north. And now, take a look. Here we go now through January and February. And oh my goodness, March the 10th, 11th, 12th, we're back at the equinox on March the 20th. The sun is climbing. The days are getting longer. The days are getting warmer. And because of that, spring, the promise of another spring has returned. Incidentally, 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, the solstice was not on December 22nd. The solstice was on December 25th. And they celebrated the return or the promise of the return of the sun by exchanging gifts, wishing your neighbor goodwill. Back 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, to be a Christian was to be an outlaw. If you were caught, if you were a Christian identified as one, and were caught, you were sent to the Colosseum in Rome to be fed to a hungry lion for dinner. So the Christians who wanted to celebrate the birth of Jesus decided, well, why don't we celebrate it at a time when everybody else is celebrating something else? And that particular feast in December, the time of the solstice, was called the Saturnalia. And so the Christians very quietly would celebrate while everybody else was celebrating, and they would celebrate in their own right the birth of Christ. And eventually, when Christians were no longer outlaws, and eventually they were free to celebrate anything they wanted, a few hundred years later, that became ingrained in them that they celebrated the date of the birth of Christ on the 25th of December, an affiliation or association with the time of the return of the sun. If you look in the Bible, by the way, and you read St. Luke, you read that at the time when Christ was born, shepherds were keeping watch over their flock by night. And if that were the case, then Jesus could not have been born on December 25th, because December in Judea is a very cold and rainy month. The only time when shepherds are out in the fields are during the spring, when lambs are being born. And so they have to keep watch over their flock during the nighttime hours. So it's likely that Christ was born in the spring, but we celebrate December 25th because, again, the lowering of the sun, the stopping of the sun on or around December 25th, when everybody else was celebrating the return of the sun, the promise of spring was coming back. And that is probably how we came up with the tradition of Christmas on December the 25th. I don't know how I got started into the theological basis here.
Well, whether it's December or whether it's spring, Joe, wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini will be there to take care of all your holiday decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, and the phone number is 631-957-5106. I figured, you know what? Let's go down that particular road. Whether you're celebrating, whatever holiday it is, and if it is Saturnalia or whatever, which they, by the way, one of the funniest Big Bang Theory episodes was the Christmas episode where he, I don't know, you've seen the Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Yes. Well, the Christmas episode stands out because Sheldon, the whole gift thing and
Right.
trying to get something of equal value. He finds out that Penny is getting him a Christmas gift, and it turns out to be a napkin that Leonard Nimoy had used, and Sheldon freaks out because he says, I now have Leonard Nimoy's DNA, and so he suddenly comes out with all these huge gift baskets to give to Penny, and says, I know it's not enough. It's a very, very, very funny episode. Anyhow, Penny. Yes, exactly.
Penny. By the way, that show is a tribute. That show, in a very small way, is a tribute to one of the great television legends in terms of directing and producing, Sheldon Leonard.
Yes.
And
yes.
whoever came up with,
that's right.
I think it was Chuck Lorre who wrote and created The Big Bang Theory, and that is his tribute to Sheldon Leonard. He named one character Sheldon and the other character Leonard.
Now, I'm sorry, Bill Rogers. I like you very much, but I have to shame you for this. He says, never heard of Big Bang Theory. Is it good? Well, I would say, Bill, open up a can of Campbell's soup, sit down in front of the TV, and you could probably find it because it's in syndication. It's on, there's got to be some television channel that you get on your TV antenna up there in Vermont on your roof. You should be able to be watching The Big Bang Theory. I mean that in the most loving way, by the way.
And if you don't know who Sheldon Leonard is, I would hope virtually everybody on the chat board has seen the movie at least once. It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart that always is broadcast around Christmas time. And in that movie, the guy who owns the local bar, his name is Nick. And in fact, he appears later on in the movie. Nick is played by Sheldon Leonard. He's the guy behind it. And when the guardian angel asks for mulled wine, he said, put a little bit of cider on top of it and be off with you, young man. That's when Sheldon Leonard comes up with one of the best lines. He slams his hand out and says, all right, that does it. Out you two pixies go.
Yes.
Through the door, out the window. That's Sheldon Leonard.
And he was also on the I Love Lucy episode when selling the handy dandy vacuum cleaner and the
Right.
handy dandy washing machine.
Exactly.
It's funny because Sheldon Leonard and also Aaron Spelling. Aaron Spelling, who produced so many shows in the '70s, Dynasty, a whole slew of those ABC shows were Aaron Spelling productions. But before he became a producer, he was a bit player and an actor, and his first television appearance was on I Love Lucy in the Bent Fork, Tennessee episode with Teensy and Weensy. He's actually in an opening scene that you don't, unless you have a copy of the full episode, which I do. They usually don't air the opening scene before they ride in, speeding into Bent Fork, which is usually the opening shot of them driving their car into Bent Fork, going fast. There's actually a scene before that where they're stopped at a gas station just as they get into Tennessee. And
the guy and they're asking him, "Is there any way we can get around Bent Fork?"
That's Aaron Spelling, and then he's also on at the end of the show when they break out into the square dances. They're breaking out of prison. So it's funny. You see some of these people that made their careers in television other than in front of the screen, and Aaron Spelling, Sheldon Leonard, and a whole host of others fall into that category. Chuck Cardillo hitting super chat. Also, Leon Probitsky hitting super chat. Thank you very much from the two of you. And I don't see the chairman was supposed to Scott Briller. He must have his hands full. He was going to send a Briller Jeopardy where both of us would have to try to guess the answers. But he was going to send it this morning. I don't see it. So I guess what we'll do is, because we got to wrap the show up because I have to get on the road and get back up into North Georgia because I have a pizza party to go to later today.
Oh, lovely.
So we'll call it a day. Just a reminder, folks, as our sponsors. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Oh, special Briller Jeopardy today. Joe and Joe versus the chat board. 12-letter tropical systems have been retired. How many can you name? Let's hold that off till tomorrow because I really got to wrap up the show now. So Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, as they get ready for winter. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. And Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Whether you want your home decorated or if you want this as your business or you are in this business, they're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. They have an open house event for contractors on Tuesday, October the 5th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can RSVP by calling them at 631-957-5106, or you can go to their website, which is liholidaylighting.com. So let's get that out of there, and let's get us back in here to say goodbye. And we will see you tomorrow night. So we'll hold the Briller Jeopardy off until tomorrow at tomorrow night's show at 7:30 Eastern time. Okay?
Okay. Get you a pizza party.
All right. Bye, everybody.